Hey folks, this is Riker with the Diablo 2 Resurrected Assassin Leveling Guide. In this video, we're going to cover the skills and the gear that you'll want to level up an assassin through normal, nightmare, and hell difficulties. And by the end, you're going to have a level 75 assassin that's ready to move on to an endgame build and endgame farming. This guide is brought to you in collaboration with Diablo 2 expert Toioiz, and you can reference his written guide on maxroll.gg, link in the description. This leveling journey follows the path of the Trap Assassin, starting with fire traps and eventually transitioning into lightning traps and death sentries. So you've just created your assassin, you've run out into the Bloodmoor, you've killed a few zombies, a few quill rats, and you've leveled up. Where do you allocate your attribute points and your skill point? Well, for your attributes, you have your options of strength, dexterity, vitality, and energy, and you're never going to put a single point into dexterity throughout the entire leveling process. You just don't need it. For strength, you just want to put enough strength to be able to equip the gear that you need. But for now, don't worry about putting anything. Then vitality is where most of our points are going to go. It's our default option. More health keeps us alive. That leaves energy. While an endgame build will not invest points into energy, early on, a little bit of energy can help out, especially if you're going to respec later on. More energy is more mana. When you're low level, you have very little mana, so it can help. So for right now, put all your points into vitality and continue to put all your points into vitality as you level up until we tell you otherwise. For your skills, you're going to be a Trap Assassin. This will allow you to deal big damage independent of your gear. It doesn't matter if you have a good weapon or a bad weapon, you're throwing traps at people. So start by putting 1 point into Fire Blast, which is the most powerful starting area of effect skill of any class. Then, as soon as you can, get a dagger as your main weapon. If you don't find a dagger, buy one at Charcy the Blacksmith. Daggers have very fast attack speed, and your trap laying speed is actually determined by your weapon's attack speed. As you level up, put 4 points into Fire Blast by the time you're level 4. For now, Fire Blast is our primary attack skill. You're going to want to maximize this effectiveness by trying to lure multiple enemies together and hitting multiple enemies with one Fire Blast. Then at level 5, put 1 point into Claw Mastery. This is in the Shadow Discipline tree, and we're just taking this as a prerequisite to Burst of Speed, which you'll take at level 6, and then again at level 7. Burst of Speed increases your attack speed as well as your run walk speed for a few minutes. Make sure to keep this buff up at all times. Whenever it drops, cast it again. Then to supplement your Fire Blast damage, you can choose to use a Strangling Gas Potion in your secondary weapon slot. These are especially useful against boss groups that take long to kill. The poison damage over time adds up, puts in a good amount of work. Strangling Gas Potions can be useful up to level 12. As you're going through the campaign, once you reach the Countess, you'll want to farm her over and over for her rune drops. Once you've killed her once, remake the game, kill her again every time she drops runes, and you want to keep farming her until you found one of each of the following runes: Tal, Eth, Tyr, and Ral. Save those for later, they're going to be useful for creating rune words. Once you hit level 8, put your 5th skill point into Fire Blast, and then until level 11, put all your points into Burst of Speed. You'll reach by level 11 5 points in Burst of Speed. At level 9, put 5 attribute points into Strength. This is so that we can equip a belt which requires 25 strength, and we want a belt in order to hold more life-saving potions. At level 11, put 5 points into Energy, and do that again at level 12. This is going to help with our mana needs. Starting at level 12, put all your skill points into Wake of Fire. And if you have any leftover skill points, that is, Wake of Fire is max and you still have skill points to spend, then put those into Fire Blast. As soon as you get it, Wake of Fire becomes your main damage skill. And the extra points in Fire Blast have a synergy that give you more damage to your Wake of Fire. And Wake of Fire is an easy set it and forget it kind of trap. You just plop it down and it'll kill nearby enemies on its own. Most regular monsters are going to die from 1 to 2 hits from Wake of Fire. But against tougher enemies, you'll want to put down the Wake of Fire trap and then also throw Fire Blast. Note that no more than 2 Wake of Fire traps can damage a single enemy simultaneously. This is due to an obscure mechanic, but basically just suffice it to say, no more than 2 fire traps against a single enemy. Then once you hit level 17, you're going to make the Stealth rune word. Get a non-magic 2-socket body armor, which you can get from Charcy the Blacksmith. If she doesn't have it in her inventory, then you're going to just refresh her inventory by leaving town, re-entering. You can do that either via the waypoint or just by walking out of town. Keep doing this until you get that 2-socket body armor, then insert Tal and Eth in that order to get a body armor that you're going to use all the way to Hell difficulty. Stealth. It gives you faster run walk speed, faster cast rate, faster hit recovery, some mana regen, and more. Just be sure that you're putting this into a non-magic base. Rune words cannot work in items that have affixes. At level 19, you're going to make the leaf rune word. That's going to be in a 2-socket short staff. Shop for this at Akara in Act 1. Again, if she doesn't sell it, refresh your inventory until she does. Then insert the Tyr and Ral runes in that order to create Leaf. This gives +3 to fire skills. This is a massive damage buff for Wake of Fire and Fire Blast. This replaces our dagger as our weapon, of course. Then before you hit level 24, shop for a Staff of Teleportation from Ormus in normal difficulty Act 3. You must be at least level 19 for this. A Staff of Teleportation contains charges of the sorceress's teleport skill, which is the best mobility skill in the game. While you are quite mobile as an assassin, you cannot get past walls. Teleport gets you past any physical barrier, and you'll only be able to use it once you're level 24, but you shop for it before that, because in the vendor window, it's going to have a red background because you can't use it, so it just makes shopping for it easier. You only have to look at the items that you can't equip. Then as soon as you can equip it, pop that into your weapon swap, and only swap to it when you want to teleport, then swap back to your leaf to attack. As soon as you get access to the secret cow level, which is once you've completed normal difficulty, you're going to farm the secret cow level until you get a crystal sword or a broadsword to drop. A crystal sword has lower strength requirements, but we're okay with investing a little bit more into strength on the assassin. You do look a lot cooler with the crystal sword though, so there is that. You're going to use this as the base for a spirit rune word. So to get to the secret cow level, you got to go grab Wirt's leg in Tristram. So you take the waypoint in Act 1 to the stony field, you run around, find the cairn stones, find the red portal, go through, go all the way to the west, to the left, find Wirt's body, click on it, grab the leg, go back to town. Once in town, take the leg, put it in the Horadric cube, put in there as well a Tome of Town portal. Hit transmute, bam, you got yourself a portal to the secret cow level. This is a great place to farm XP, farm items, and once you've killed everything in there, repeat the process. Get the leg, open another portal, do another cow run. It's not a waste of time, you're getting good XP in the meantime. Keep doing this until you get your sword. Now, unlike in previous versions of Diablo 2, in Resurrected, you can kill the Cow King. It is okay, you will still be able to open a cow level. Now, once you're ready to go on to Nightmare difficulty, you're going to want to shop for some resist gear. Things become more challenging in Nightmare, things become deadlier, and our resistances have all been nerfed in Nightmare difficulty. So shop at Charcy for gloves that give you resistances, boots that give you move speed and resist, a belt that gives you hit recovery and resist, and lightning and fire resists are your priorities. Once you reach the Countess in Nightmare, farm her for the following runes: Sol, Tal, Thul, Amn, and 2 Orts. Once you're level 27, create yourself a lore rune word by inserting the Ort and Sol runes into a 2-socket helmet, which you can buy from Charcy in normal Act 1. Lore gives us +1 to all skills, 30% lightning resist, and it's another item that you're going to keep until endgame. Then sometime between levels 32 and 35, you're going to respec. Go to Akara in normal Act 1, hit respec, and this is going to refund all your attribute points and all your skill points. At this point, when you're allocating your attribute points, put enough points to reach 47 strength, then dump everything else into vitality. And you're going to do that for the rest of the leveling process, everything into vitality until level 75. However, if at some point while playing you happen to come upon a really, really good item that requires more strength, then you could add a few more points into strength, but it is not worth going above 60 strength. Then for your skill points, in the Shadow Disciplines tree, put 1 point into Claw Mastery, 6 points into Burst of Speed, and 1 point each in Psychic Hammer, Cloak of Shadows, and Mind Blast. In the Traps tree, 1 point into Fire Blast, 4 in Shockweb, 1 in Charged Bolt Sentry, and then max out Lightning Sentry. And then put any remaining skill points into Death Sentry. At that point, if you have excess skill points, hold on to them. From here on out, your priority with skill points is keep Lightning Sentry maxed, priority 1. Priority 2, keep Death Sentry maxed. That's for the rest of the leveling journey. Once you have put 20 points into Lightning Sentry and Death Sentry, once they're both maxed, then work towards maxing out Shockweb, and once you've maxed out Shockweb, put your remaining points into Charged Bolt Sentry. Lightning Sentry is your main damage dealer. It shoots lightning at nearby enemies. To maximize your damage, stack up to 5 lightning sentries in the same spot. Once one monster has died, at least one, lay down 1 or 2 death sentries as far away from enemies as possible. Death sentries are either going to shoot lightning at nearby enemies or they're going to explode nearby corpses. When you're fighting single targets, like Duriel, use only lightning sentry. You can also use Mind Blast to stun enemies, and weaker enemies even have a chance to be temporarily charmed and will fight for you. You can use Cloak of Shadows to blind enemies, great survival tool. This is particularly effective against ranged enemies. Now, once you've changed to lightning damage, you obviously don't need your Leaf anymore, +3 to fire skills. This is when you craft your Spirit Rune Word. You already have your sword and your runes, so bring your sword to Larzuk in normal Act 5, and use the quest reward to add sockets to it. And as long as this is a crystal sword that was taken from the cow level, and it lacks any magic properties, this will add 4 sockets to the sword. Then add the Tal, Thul, Ort, and Om runes in that order to create your Spirit Rune Word. This grants us a whopping +2 to all skills, up to 35% faster cast rate, a bunch of mana, and faster hit recovery. And you're going to use Spirit all the way up to Hell difficulty and beyond. So now you just went from a 2-handed weapon to a 1-handed weapon, giving you a free offhand. So for that offhand, craft the Ancient's Pledge Rune Word in a 3-socket shield. Use the Ral, Ort, and Tal rune words that you got as a quest reward in Act 5. Then buy a Kite Shield from Farah in normal Act 2 to use as a base. This gives us a huge amount of resistance. Also, be on the lookout for gloves that grant increased attack speed, a belt that grants life or resistances, or both, and boots that grant faster run walk speed. And for jewelry, grab anything that gives you life, resistances, mana, or if you're lucky, +2 to skills. Now before we finish here, we're going to explore some gear options that are a little harder to come by, but if you're either lucky enough to get them as a drop, or you farm them on another character, or you trade it for them, these are some items that can really help. So if you can get 2 pieces of the Death's Guard set, the gloves and the sash, these grant 30% increased attack speed, 15% to all resist, and cannot be frozen. Combined with an Ancient's Pledge, this should be enough to cap out resistances on normal. If you can find a Ravenfrost ring, this is a great way to get cannot be frozen, which can really be a lifesaver. Hasura's Iron Heel is a common drop that gives faster run walk and fire resist, and Sander's Rip Wrap is another common drop with a huge amount of faster run walk on it. If you find a Splendor Shield and can afford to lose the resistances of your Ancient's Pledge, Splendor gives you +1 to all skills, mana regen, and 20% magic find. While you're still using fire traps, Mage Fist gauntlets are great with their +1 to fire skills, otherwise not really worth it. If you need more resistances, you can craft the Smoke Rune Word. This gives you +50 to all resistances. But Skin of the Viper Magi is another really good option. It's the most aggressive option, +1 to all skills, and it still gives 35 all resist. The Treachery Body Armor Rune Word is also an option because of its +2 to assassin skills. But be aware that if it triggers Fade, this overrides your burst of speed, which is not a good thing. Level 15 Fade gives us 60% all resist and 15% physical resist, which is nice damage reduction, but now we move slower, which can end up killing us when we're not expecting it. When you are accustomed to moving at a certain speed and then suddenly, randomly you're moving slower, well, now maybe you're not dodging a projectile or an enemy. Twitch Throw Armor is really powerful with its combination of increased attack speed, faster hit recovery, and increased chance of blocking. For hardcore players, this is a really good choice. And lastly, you'll notice that we did not cover your Mercenary. Mercenaries are close to impossible to keep alive during the leveling process, but we have another video, or we will have, depending on when this is released, that's going to cover just mercenaries and mid to late game options for how to build your mercenary. So stay tuned for that.
However, throughout the leveling process on normal difficulty, there will be 2 instances in which you need a mercenary. This is while you're still running a fire build. There are 2 fire immune monsters that we cannot skip. One is Kalenzo on the first Throne Room wave before Bale, and the other is the Grand Vizier from the top left seal in the Chaos Sanctuary, right before Diablo. To deal with these, you'll need to get an Act 2 mercenary and equip him with a pike.
Because that's going to wrap up this video. But do check out and stay tuned for our other leveling guides for other characters, farming guides, mercenary guide on the best builds in the game. All that coming. We got you covered. Thanks for watching. Special thanks to my Twitch, Patreon, and YouTube supporters for making these videos possible. If you like what you saw on this channel and want to support the creation of more content, you can consider pledging on YouTube or Patreon and unlocking behind-the-scenes content, monthly virtual hangouts, and more. If you enjoyed this video, please share it. Check out these other videos and subscribe to join Riker's Raiders for more Diablo content.